Welcome back, pilots of the virtual skies. Those of us who are joining for part 2, we have taken off from Strats. Oh goodness, what's the name of that? Stuttgart Airport. We are making a beeline toward our first VOR, which is the Reed Mannheim VOR. You can see in our number 1 HSI that we have 44 miles to go. We have the number 2 VOR tuned in, but we're not picking up a signal from that quite yet. You can see the number 2 DME is reading 0. The number 1 RMI needle, the narrow one, that's the primary, number 1, is pointing toward the Reed Mannheim. Number 2 is horizontal, which means it's not receiving anything yet. We're climbing through 19,000 feet. We just went on to standard pressure, which is 1013 in Europe or 29.92 in North America. Are climbing toward our cruise altitude of 28,000 feet. We have a stable ship. I think we're in some cloud right now. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's pretty cloudy out there. I'm confident we'll climb out of those clouds. I've already started to set up for our approach into Dusseldorf. I pulled up. Their elevation is scant 145, so we want to go to the pressure settings panel. We're set up for 28,000 in the cruise. We want 145 on our landing altitude. The closest we're going to come to that is 140, I think. Cabin pressure is 6,000 feet and it's automatic. We can go out of continuous fire on the engines. We turn off our taxi lights, turn off our runway lights, our landing lights, leave the strobe position and anti-collision lights as they are. Might have just a little bit of time to turn off the seatbelt sign and there's no smoking sign, but not much. Let's see how we're progressing here. We're at about 1,000 feet per minute. My throttles are not all the way up. I can give my throttles a little more goose. Maybe increase that climb rate a little bit. We're at 161 knot airspeed. So basically that's a pretty slow airspeed. We're trading what forward airspeed we might need. We're trading that into vertical speed. After we put the landing gear up, we went ahead and put the landing gear in the off position. We have our auto brake set to max. Probably what will end up happening is, just as we're touching down and we go on reversers, I'll drop the max down into minimum or medium, or maybe even off, depending on how effective the reversers are. Our course for our ILS approach is 051. I've got that tuned into one of the course selection dials. I could actually put it into both, but I'll hold off on the second one until we are closer. Our flight director is in the heading setting, and our autopilot is in manual mode right now, but aileron portion is on and elevator portion is on, and our altitude hold right now is off. So all is well. not sure about this glide slope flag on the attitude indicator. I wonder if that's on all the time unless you are actively tracking a glide slope. Seems to be a little annoying if you're going to have it on all the time. Once we get to Mannheim in 25 miles, we will either one of two things. Either we will pick up the Cologne-Bonn VOR, and this DME will start to show a distance, and also the number 2, the fat arrow, will start to come alive. That may or may not happen. If it does not happen, we'll continue tracking outbound from the Mannheim Reed VOR on an outbound radio until we do establish ourselves on an inbound radio. One thing I did not do when we took off is, most of the time in a modern aircraft, just as you're taking off, you start the clock. And you do that so you can calculate fuel burn and other performance data. This clock is a very rudimentary clock. Literally, all it is a clock. So there's no button to push to start it. What you would do is you would just record the takeoff time. And I, unfortunately, did not record the takeoff time. So I'm unable to do those calculations. Just a simple
Lufthansa 43 resume navigation.
Resume navigation Lufthansa 43.
I don't see a nav hold ability on this aircraft. So what I'm doing is I'm tracking the CDI needle is tracking the station, but I'm using my heading bug to keep us aligned with that VOR course. I don't see, we have a nav GPS option. I assume there is a default flight management computer that you can use. It doesn't do any performance data. It won't do any vertical navigation. But if you want to assign some waypoints and do some lateral navigation, you can pick up the default flight management computer. And in that case, you probably would go into GPS mode to help you more easily track those waypoints. But we're not doing that. We're simply old school today. Simply tracking on 2 VORs, and that's all we'll need from Stuttgart, passing the western side of Frankfurt, and on into Dusseldorf. We're approaching our cruise altitude. We're going to pick up some speed here pretty quick. Right now, 0.41. We've traded quite a bit of speed to get that climb rate, and even our climb rate is not great. Now, airplanes, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but airplanes are more efficient at higher altitudes. They fly faster, they burn less fuel, so you want to stay at a high altitude as long as you can, but depending on the performance of the aircraft and the weight balance, the service ceiling can be limited, and we're only making 500 feet per minute. We're only 0.41 Mach. We're just now reaching our 28,000 feet. So the way we're loaded, I'm guessing we're pretty close to the top of our service ceiling. Good thing we don't have to go higher. Now that we've stabilized our altitude, you can see our airspeed is creeping up. And I will reduce the throttles just a little bit. One of the things, if you asked me what single thing I would like in a modern airliner to be present on this classic jet, it would be auto throttle. You don't really realize all the work that the auto throttle does until you don't have it. Okay, we'll let the turn the seatbelt sign off for a little while.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. You may now remove your seatbelt.
6 miles distant. The VOR needle is going to get awful squirrely here in just a bit. Now again, we're not tracking on the VOR, we're using our heading bug. So even when we pass the station, you'll see the VOR needle swing around, but it won't affect the course of the jet. This needle is very sensitive this close to the station.
We will shortly be serving you with cold drinks and a light snack.
Yeah, that needle is awful sensitive, and here you can see the swing around. I'm going to turn the aircraft 30 degrees to the left, and that'll put us on the outbound radial in an approximation. That's an approximation. Yeah, okay, we got the flip around. That's a full flip around of the Mannheim Reed. So 30 degrees to the left is an approximation of where I think we're going to intercept the Bonn-Cologne VOR. And once we're established on the Bonn-Cologne VOR, I'm going to get rid of that frequency for Mannheim Reed. Oh, here we go. You notice the number 2, the fat needle just swung around. We are 80 miles from Bonn-Cologne. Our fat number 2 needle just swung around. Now I can use that second radio and set up for our ILS approach. We need to be at a course of 151, and we need 111.5 in the radio. So let's make this course 051. And 111.5. So the number 2 radio is actively looking for 111.5. The number 1 radio is still tracking Bonn-Cologne. Once we pass Bonn-Cologne, we'll toggle over, and then both radios will be looking for that that VOR. I'm sorry, that localizer. Once we're established on the localizer, we will, the VOR lock lights here at the top will be yellow, the flight director first, and then the autopilot. And then once we're on the localizer, they'll change to green, and I'll switch over to approach mode. We'll then be looking for the glide slope. The glide slope lights will be initially yellow, and once we've captured the glide slope, they will also turn to green. So this airplane does not have auto land capability. It won't do the rollout, it won't do the flare. But having locked on glide slope and localizer, that's about as close to an auto landing as you're going to get. frequencies mixed up. We're 61 miles from Bonn Cologne, and we're now 135 miles away. Well, I'm not sure about that. Oh. Okay, that makes more sense. We're 27 miles from Mannheim Ried, and we're now 57 miles from Bonn Cologne. Ideally, if this were a longer trip, what you would want to do is to find a
Lufthansa
VOR.
43, you are off course. Turn right heading 339er to return to course.
Heading 339er Lufthansa 43.
I'm a little off course, not much. Ideally, what you'd like to do is to find a VOR off to your right or off to your left. And as you're tracking on the number 1 VOR toward the next station, you might pick out several cross radials along your route and use your RMI needle to determine your progress, your track, according to that second VOR station. And that'll give you minute by minute.
Lufthansa 43 resume navigation.
Resume navigation Lufthansa 43.
Yeah, I knew we weren't too far off. Our controller was awful picky. He wanted us right on that line. But that's how you have to be. I mean, if we were in weather conditions, that controller is expecting you to follow that VOR right on the line. Okay, now that we're in some clear skies, let's take a beauty pass of our bird. One thing I'd like to see in this airplane are some people. I'm looking through the cabin windows. I do not see not even one single person inside. Or do I see a flight crew on the flight deck? Those are empty chairs. It would be wonderful if the developer would add some people. Otherwise, we are a ghost ship. Miles from Cologne Bonn. We need to be cleared to the Go-Go intersection. We're take a radio off of Bonn to get to GoGo. And GoGo will be the interception point to the localizer. Runway 5. 5 left, I think it is. I forgot where I was cleared to. Oh, I hope it was 5 left. That's the, what did I set my navigation for? 5 right. 5 right. 111.5 is to 5 right. Please hold on. This tablet is a modern convenience. If I would have remembered to write down this information, I could do without the tablet. If you'd like to see that, I'll show you. We have an options page, and you can take the tablet away. There it is. Or you can add the default flight management system. There it is. I'm pretty good with the modern FMC, flight management computer, or I'm okay with no flight management computer. But this halfway, the flight management computer here, it's kind of a halfway flight management computer.
Contact Lane Radar Center on 118.75. Good day.
Heading 299er center on 118.75 Lufthansa 43. Center Lufthansa 43 at flight level 280.
Lufthansa 43, good morning. Radar contact.
Turn a little bit to the left to shallow the angle that we're going to be intercepting GoGo at. Once we're at GoGo and on our runway heading, it's a rather dramatic angle, a little bit more than 90 degrees. So if I cheat a little bit to the left, and actually, I'm not cheating by much because we're just about to pass Bonn, Cologne as it is. You're going to see the station, the number 1 needle, the thin needle, flip around here in just a little bit. And then we'll be properly on our intercept.
Lufthansa 43, resume navigation.
Resume navigation Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43, you are off course. Turn right heading 338 to return to course.
I think I'm fine.
Heading 338 Lufthansa 43.
Plane Center, Lufthansa 43, request flight level 080. Little turbulence there, got the passengers to scream. Lufthansa, Lane Center, Lufthansa 43, request flight level 080.
Lufthansa 43, this is Langen Radar Center on 118.75. Please repeat your request.
Langen Center, Lufthansa 43, request flight level 080.
Lufthansa 43 descend and maintain flight level 080.
Descend and maintain flight level 080 Lufthansa 43.
I'm going to disengage the elevator portion of the autopilot, turn off the altitude hold, and bring our throttles back. And I'm going to nudge the yoke just a little bit forward. And get us in descent. And I'm also going to fasten seatbelts and turn on the no smoking sign.
The captain has planned on seatbelt sign. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelt.
We're starting to gain some airspeed, so I'm going to add in a little bit of speed brake. A couple of speeds we want to be really aware of. The main one is the first 2 notches of the flaps limit. We don't want to engage the first 2 notches of flaps above 230 knots. And one way of helping us do that is the landing gear. Landing gear not only supports the aircraft on landing, but it's also a good way to lead off some speed. But you can't extend the landing gear until you're below 270 knots.
Lufthansa 43 contact Dusseldorf radar director on 128.65. Enjoy your morning.
Radar director on 128.65 Lufthansa 43. Radar director Lufthansa 43 descending to flight level 080.
Lufthansa 43, good morning. Radar contact. Continue descent via the Aviv 1 Bravo arrival. The ILS approach to runway 05 right at Dusseldorf.
Continue descent via the AVIG 1 Bravo arrival. For the ILS approach to runway 05 right Lufthansa 43.
Flight director and the autopilot into the nav lock position. Taking a pause on the descent to reduce my airspeed.
Lufthansa 43, resume navigation.
Resume navigation Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43, altimeter 3032, cleared for the ILS approach to runway 05 right at Dusseldorf, descend and maintain 3,000 feet, contact radar director on 128.65, good morning.
Altimeter 3032 032 cleared for the ILS approach to runway 05 right descent and maintain 3,000 feet. Radar director on 128.65 Lufthansa 43. Global altimeter 3032 Tower Lufthansa 43 inbound for ILS approach runway 05 right.
Lufthansa 43 good morning. Radar contact. Continue ILS to runway 05 right forward established on flight.
Continue ILS to runway 05 right will call when established on final Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43 radar contact. Cleared for the ILS approach to runway 05 right.
Cleared for the ILS approach to runway 05 right call when established on final. Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43 expedite speed reduction to 250 knots.
Wilhelm Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43 expedite speed reduction to 250 knots.
Wilhelm Lufthansa 43.
Lufthansa 43 windows are 028 and 9 knots cleared to land runway 05 right.
Clear to land runway 05 right Lufthansa